Hello and welcome to the Shurley English Workshop Series, designed to present topics and various teaching techniques to enhance your teaching skills. This month, we are featuring Writing for All Purposes. We hope to provide you with the knowledge, skills, and practice students need to write with success using any genre of writing. Writing is one of the most difficult skills for students to master. That's because there are so many subcomponents required for students to express their thoughts in writing. Shurley English curriculum teaches them to make the language arts connection by using 7 unique features. Let's begin with speaking and listening. Writing, speaking, and listening are communication skills that are important in all subject areas. Since writing has its foundation in oral language, Shurley English gives students many opportunities to develop their interpersonal speaking and listening skills in both formal and informal settings. Reading comprehension is also a prerequisite. Students need some reading comprehension skills before they can begin to express their thoughts in writing. As they advance in the writing process, students will need to be able to read closely to catch and fix mistakes. Reading comprehension is vital to their writing success. Next, students need to understand how to construct sentences that make sense. Shurley English uses 3 key features to provide a strong grammar foundation. Students are taught the parts of speech and other important grammar definitions using jingles. Then they are taught a strategy to identify them in a sentence using the feature known as the question and answer flow. When students understand how words work together to form sentences, they can be taught how to make the connection from grammar to writing by writing sentences according to a sentence blueprint. A strong grammar foundation, along with the skills taught in the next feature, will help students transition into organizing sentences into paragraphs, essays, and other types of writing. Speaking of the next feature, let's talk about English language arts skills. Effective writing requires them. In Shurley English, the effective traits of writing are introduced, reinforced, and mastered during skill time. In each level, students are taught the skills required to develop ideas, organization, word choice, voice, sentence fluency, and conventions. Then, using logical sequential instruction, writing is taught as a process. Students learn and practice this process with every writing assignment. As they go from a blank sheet of paper to a finished piece of writing, students learn to master the steps. To write with competence, students need genre and content knowledge. That means they need to understand the requirements for each purpose for writing and how to meet those requirements with success. Shurley English teaches students the necessary skills to write for all purposes, and today I will show you how we do it. Let's start at the beginning. Writing is a process, and students will learn to follow the established steps it takes to plan, write, rewrite, and publish a final paper. There are 6 steps in the writing process, and each step requires students to perform certain tasks. Let's take a look at them. Step 1 in the writing process is prewriting. During this step, students learn to gather and organize their ideas. The curriculum provides a checklist for students to follow during each step of the writing process. So, the first thing a student must do is determine their purpose for writing. As you can see, the checklist provides descriptions of each writing genre and purpose, and students learn to ask themselves the question, how do I want my writing to affect my reader? A student's purpose for writing will determine the type or genre of writing they will use. Today, we will look at the requirements for the 4 most common genres of writing: descriptive, narrative, expository, and persuasive. Of course, students will learn about each type of writing during actual writing lessons. Then, the pre-writing checklist will provide them with a brief description of each type during Task 1. This will ensure that they are selecting the correct genre for writing based on how they want to affect their reader. Let's begin by taking a look at the writing process for expository writing. I have chosen expository writing because my purpose is to inform, to give facts, to give directions, to explain, or to define something. This expository writing example will show you how we teach students to follow the writing process using the writing checklist. Once the purpose and genre have been selected, students will move to the next task on the checklist. Task number 2 teaches students to recognize their audience. To determine their audience, they will ask themselves the question, who will be my primary reader? Knowing their audience will help them with certain word choice decisions, and it will also affect their voice. For example, they might describe an apple as crimson for their teacher, but red for their younger brother. The third task of the pre-writing checklist teaches students to choose their topic. The question they will ask themselves is, what can I write about? During this task, students are encouraged to brainstorm for ideas and to make a possible list of topics. Then they will think about the possibilities for main points they can develop for each one. Afterwards, students will learn to pick the topic that they think they can best develop. Take a look at the list of topics this student came up with during pre-writing task number 3. As you can see, the student brainstormed topics before determining the one they wanted to write about. Then, at the top of the page, they listed the topic they chose. Afterwards, they wrote down the purpose for their writing and the type of writing selected. In this example, this student is writing to their classmates. Their topic is My Favorite Zoo Animals. Their purpose for writing is to inform, which means the type of writing is expository. As the pre-writing checklist continues, students learn to narrow their topic during task number 4. A narrowed topic is easier to develop because it is focused on one idea. Students will learn to decide what they want to say about their topic and then write it in a complete sentence. During pre-writing task number 5, the writer must determine how they can develop their topic. They will learn to brainstorm or research for supporting details to develop their main points. They will also learn that they can use their own experiences, ask other people, or look for additional information in books, online, or other sources. Students will be taught to only use details that support their topic. Pre-writing task number 6 instructs students to organize their details. They start off by asking themselves, what is the best way to present my information? They have to think about the best way to arrange their main points and supporting details. They also have to keep their audience and purpose in mind as they organize. A graphic organizer will help them accomplish the task. Let me show you what it looks like. This is an example of a pre-writing map for a 3-point expository paragraph. Students are taught to use the pre-writing map to accomplish tasks 5 and 6 on the pre-writing checklist. As you can see, they learn to develop 3 main points to share about their topic and provide 2 to 3 supporting details about each one. This student's topic is Favorite Zoo Animals. The 3 main points they chose to share include lemurs, prairie dogs, and flamingos. Notice the student has written 3 supporting details for the first main point, 2 supporting details for the second main point, and 3 supporting details for the third main point. Students will be taught to spend plenty of time generating and organizing their ideas because it will make the next step of the writing process even easier. Let's take a look at the next step now. Step 2 in the writing process is the rough draft. During this phase, students will learn to use ideas from their graphic organizer to write their rough draft. Every good writer knows that the rough draft is never the best draft, so they don't worry about mistakes during this phase. Students will learn to make improvements later during steps 3 and 4 of the writing process. Shurley English students will learn to follow the rough draft checklist to compose their first writing attempt. The first 4 tasks on the rough draft checklist teach students how to organize their rough draft. Task 1 instructs them to write with a pencil on notebook paper. Task number 2 instructs them on what should be included in the heading of their paper. Task number 3 instructs students to skip the next line between the heading and the beginning of their writing. Then, task number 4 teaches them how to format their rough draft. Students will learn to skip every other line in order to have built-in space available for revisions and edits. Students are also taught to indent the first line of every paragraph. Now take a look at task number 5. It says, use these writing traits as you write your rough draft. As students begin to write their rough draft, the effective traits of writing are used as a guide to help them know exactly what to do to write the rough draft. The first trait of effective writing is ideas. Students will transfer the ideas from their pre-writing map into complete sentences, which will include the details that support their main points. The second trait of effective writing is organization. This trait helps students learn to develop an engaging introduction, a powerful body, and a strong conclusion in their writing. They learn to write a clear topic sentence for each paragraph. Then they arrange their main points and supporting detail sentences in a logical order using transition words to link ideas and give their writing flow. The third trait of effective writing is word choice. As students follow the pre-writing map to write their paragraph or essay, they are taught to write with precise nouns and verbs, vivid adjectives and adverbs, and prepositional phrases to add more details and description. Effective writing trait number 4 is voice. Students are taught to express their unique writing voice using word choices to express their ideas. They learn to use similes, metaphors, and personification to add contrast and interest in their writing. The fifth trait of effective writing is sentence fluency. Students are taught that in order to keep their readers' attention and help them stay focused on important ideas, they must use a variety of simple, compound, and complex sentences as they write about their topic. Varying the length of sentences will also assist in emphasizing important ideas. In addition, students will strive to use different sentence patterns to give their writing variety. The sixth trait of effective writing is conventions. Students learn to follow the rules of capitalization, punctuation, usage, spelling, and grammar. Reader comprehension is virtually impossible without the use of good conventions. During the lesson, students learn a common way to organize an expository paragraph is to use a 3-point organizational structure. The organizational structure of a 3-point paragraph presents the 3 points or main ideas the student decided to write about in step 1 and develops them with supporting sentences. Stating each main point followed by supporting sentences for the main point creates a writing structure that is clear and understandable to the reader. Clarity and organization are major goals during this step of the writing process. Shurley English helps students write their rough draft by providing them with an easy-to-follow outline for their paragraph or essay. The outline guides students sentence by sentence through a logical progression of ideas that can be easily understood and followed. Students are taught to use transition words to help them connect thoughts together and organize their ideas to give their writing flow. Of course, Shurley English teaches a transition word jingle to help students learn and memorize transition words. These important words help writers give their writing flow, organize their ideas, and transition from one thought to the next. The transition words in the jingle are organized into categories, and learning the jingle will help your students commit them to memory. I'll demonstrate the first few stanzas so you will get an idea of how the jingle sounds when you chant it. You can also listen to our pre-recorded jingles on our YouTube channel later. It goes like this. Listen, comrades, and you shall hear about transition words that make your writing smooth and clear. Transition words are connecting words. You add them to the beginning of sentences and paragraphs to keep your ideas spinning and give your writing flow. These words can clarify, summarize, or emphasize, compare or contrast, inform or show time. Learn them now and your writing will shine. Transition, transition for words that show time. First, second, third, before, during, after, next, then, and finally. I'm going to stop, but you get the idea. This jingle will help your students commit important transition words to memory. From the introduction to the main points and from the supporting sentences to the conclusion. Transition words are a key component used by writers to connect their ideas in all types of writing. Now let's take a look at the Shurley English writing outline I was telling you about. A writing outline is a tool students may use to move their ideas from the pre-writing map to their rough draft. The outline provides a visual aid to help students easily follow the steps and produce a well-organized paragraph or essay. Sentence 1, they will write a topic and number sentence. For sentence 2, they will write a 3-point sentence where they take the 3 points they listed in their pre-writing and they will just state them in the order they will be developed in the paragraph. For sentence 3, students will write their first point in a complete sentence. Then they will turn around in sentence 4 and write a supporting sentence for the first point. For sentence 5, students will write their second point in a complete sentence. Then they will turn around in sentence 6 and write a supporting sentence for the second point. Sentence number 7 will be where the students will write their third point in a complete sentence. Then they will turn around in sentence 8 and write a supporting sentence for the third point. For sentence 9, students will write a concluding general sentence. Allow me to demonstrate how the outline serves as a guide to help students take the information from their pre-writing map and turn it into an easy-to-follow 3-point expository paragraph. The first sentence students will write is the topic and number sentence. Although they will learn that a topic sentence can be located anywhere in a paragraph, the topic sentence will be generated first using the writing outline. Since students have developed sentence fluency skills during skill time, they will be encouraged to vary their sentences as they write. To write a topic and number sentence, students are taught to use some or all of the words in their topic and add a general or specific number word that tells the number of points that will be discussed in their paragraph. Students will decide the sentence structure strategy they want to use in order to follow the steps to write the topic sentence. For example, your student may choose to write a compound sentence like this one, which says, I have 3 favorite animals and I visit them at the zoo. Next, in sentence 2 of their paragraph, students will write a 3-point sentence. This sentence will state the 3 points in the order they will be presented in the paragraph. Notice how the 3-point sentence is written 3 different ways. Your student may choose to write a simple sentence like this one. It says, the animals I enjoy watching most are lemurs, prairie dogs, and flamingos. After the topic sentence and the 3-point sentence have been written, students will begin writing the sentences for the body of their paragraph. Sentence 3 is called the first point sentence. Students will simply state their first point in complete sentence form. Now that students know how to write a complex sentence, you can expect to see them in their writing. They might write a complex sentence like this one to state their first point. It says, since lemurs are my favorite zoo animal, I visit them first. Sentence number 4 is called the supporting sentence for the first point. This sentence will give details that describe the first point sentence. It can explain or describe, but it must be about the first point. Your student might write a compound sentence like this one that says, "Lemurs look like monkeys, but they have a fox-like face, large eyes, and a bushy tail." Sentence number 5 is called the second point sentence. Students will learn to simply state their second point in complete sentence form. For example, you might see a simple sentence like this one. Another favorite zoo animal is the prairie dog. For sentence number 6, students will learn to write a supporting sentence for the second point. Of course, this sentence will give details that support the second point only. They may choose to write a complex sentence like this one that says, "These short, bushy animals use a sophisticated bark so that they can warn other prairie dogs of approaching predators." Sentence number 7 will contain the third point. Students will take the third point they decided to write about and state it in complete sentence form. They may write a compound sentence like this one that says, "I admire the flamingo, therefore I visit them next." Sentence number 8 will contain the supporting detail for the third point. It can explain or describe, but it must be in regards to the third point. Look at the example. It's written as a simple sentence which says, "It is amazing to see how these large tropical birds stand on one leg and never lose their balance." Using the Shurley English outline, sentence number 9 is called the concluding general sentence. This sentence restates the topic sentence by using some of the same words stated in a different way or by saying the same thing with an additional thought. For example, this complex sentence says, "Since I love watching my favorite animals, I must see them every time I visit the zoo." Now that the rough draft has been developed, students will learn to revise it. It's important for them to understand that revision is the third step in the writing process. In this step, students will learn how to strengthen the content of their writing by making better word choices and improving their sentence fluency. Students will learn to follow the revising checklist. The first task instructs them to use the effective traits of writing to revise their rough draft. First, they will learn to look back at their ideas to decide if they need to add or delete any details. Next, students will check for any needed improvements in the organization of their writing. They will learn to make sure they have a clear introduction, body, and conclusion with a topic sentence in each paragraph. They will check to see that all of their details support their main ideas with logical order or if they need to be rearranged. Students will also make sure that their writing is appropriate for their purpose, genre, and audience. After that, students will turn their attention to their word choices and learn to replace any weak words with more precise ones. They will also check to make sure their writing makes sense. The next effective writing trait to be assessed during revision is voice. Students will learn to check if they have used the best choice of words to express their unique voice and expressions. The following step on the revision checklist requires students to check for sentence fluency. Students will make sure they have kept their reader's attention by focusing on important ideas and by using a variety of sentence types and links. They will also check to see if they need to add or change any transition words. The revising checklist will require that students make their revisions in the blank spaces of their rough draft. Here's an example of what a rough draft will look like as students learn to write revisions in the blank spaces of their rough draft and draw lines through words or sentences that they want to delete or replace. After revision, students will move immediately into step 4, editing the rough draft. During this step, they will learn to correct mistakes. Notice that the first task students will follow on the editing checklist is to correct mistakes by focusing on one writing trait: conventions. The conventions of writing include capitalization, usage, punctuation, spelling, and grammar. When students find an editing mistake, they will learn to simply circle it and write the correction above it. After editing, the revised and edited rough draft will be placed back in the student's rough draft folder. Here's an example of how a student's rough draft might look after editing. Since revising and editing go hand in hand, each writing lesson incorporates a revising and editing schedule. The schedule includes a time for individual revising and editing, partner revising and editing, and finally, peer evaluation when possible. Moving right along, let's discuss the fifth step of the writing process, the final paper. During this step, students will learn to compose a neat, corrected copy of their writing for the purpose of publishing or sharing it. Students will be provided with a final paper checklist and expected to follow the listed tasks as they rewrite their paper. The fifth task of the final paper checklist states that students will use a student writing rubric to help them make a final check of their paper. Shurley English curriculum includes a student writing rubric for each genre of writing. I will use the writing rubric for explanatory writing to demonstrate. Students are taught to read and respond to questions about their writing in terms of genre and their use of the effective traits of writing. Let's begin with the section of questions about genre. Students will respond by placing a check mark in the box if the answer to the question is yes. The questions include: have I presented clear main points to support the topic? Have I used interesting details to support the main points? Have I used appropriate transition words? And have I developed the topic in a logical order that makes sense? After responding, students will count the number of check marks and write a score in the box above each section. Next, students will read and respond to each section pertaining to the traits of effective writing. The first section focuses on ideas. Students will check to make sure that their writing topic is appropriate and clear. They will respond to the questions to ensure they've included relevant main points with supporting details, etc. Afterwards, they will score the section for ideas. Students will continue this process as they check organization of their paper, their word choices, voice, sentence fluency, conventions, formatting, and finally, the rubric will help students evaluate their writing piece by doing a final analysis. They will check to be sure their writing is interesting and appealing to their audience. They will also assess whether or not their details paint a mental image of what they are trying to explain. Students aren't the only ones that receive a writing rubric in Shurley English. Teachers are provided with a rubric for every writing genre. The rubric will help you authentically monitor a student's learning process, develop and revise lesson plans, and provide an excellent assessment opportunity to score students' writing. Of course, using a rubric during writing conferences can help you show each student their writing successes as well as any areas where they may need to concentrate to improve their writing. Now let's return to the final paper checklist. Once students have completed task number 5 using the student rubric to make a final check of their paper, they will put their pre-writing map, rough draft, and the final paper in their final paper folder to be graded. Here's an example of a final paper. You might recognize it. It's the student's final paragraph about his favorite animals to visit at the zoo. Notice that simple sentences are colored white, compound sentences are colored yellow, and complex sentences are in orange print. As students learn to follow the writing process and apply genre and content knowledge, they gain the advantage to write with success. It takes strategies to help students learn to introduce and support main points in paragraphs and essays according to their purpose for writing. Now it's time to take a look at the 6th step in the writing process, publishing. During this step, students will share their writing with others. The publishing checklist will help students know what to do in order to share their writing with others. They learn to rewrite their graded paper in ink or on a computer, give it to their teacher, and wait for the teacher to decide how the writing assignment will be published. An oral presentation is one way to share writing, and the guidelines for an oral presentation are included in the curriculum. This form of publishing helps students learn to utilize speaking and listening skills depending on the role of the student. They will follow the speaker guidelines when they are sharing their own paper and the audience response guidelines when they are listening to a speaker. Rest assured that students will be introduced to many forms of publishing throughout each grade level. As I mentioned earlier, the four most common genres of writing include expository, persuasive, descriptive, and narrative. I have shown you the requirements of expository writing that students learn during daily lessons, and I walked you through them using the steps of the writing process. We talked about the writing checklist, which is a graphic organizer used to teach students the tasks involved to follow the writing process. You saw the Prewriting map for a 3-point expository paragraph. The Prewriting map is another graphic organizer used to help students gather information during the prewriting process. You also saw the graphic organizer of the sentence outline for a 3-point expository paragraph. The outline structure is clear and understandable, and students can easily follow it to produce a well-organized expository paragraph. We also went over the writing rubric students will use to review their final paper. All of these strategies help students achieve their purpose and write with success. Now I'd like to show you some of the same strategies we use to help students learn to write for success using persuasive, descriptive, and narrative writing. The 6 steps of the writing process remain consistent regardless of the student's purpose for writing. Students will learn strategies designed for each specific genre to generate ideas, introduce and support main points in their writing, and accomplish their overall purpose for writing with success. Let's look at some strategies to help students learn the elements of persuasive writing. The purpose of the persuasive writing genre is to get other people to see things your way, so learning to use opinion words is key. These words signal when a writer is expressing an opinion. The Prewriting map for persuasive writing is another strategy to help students develop the elements of persuasive writing. Students learn to include an opinion statement and several convincing reasons to back up their opinion statement. Then they provide supporting details for each. Using information from the Prewriting map, students can follow the sentence-by-sentence outline to write their persuasive paragraph or persuasive essay. It's the perfect strategy to guide students through a logical progression of ideas that the reader can easily follow. Persuasive writing uses the same 3-point organizational structure as expository writing to present the persuasive argument. Students need strategies to help them accomplish descriptive writing. This type of writing requires students to paint a picture on paper with words as they describe a person, place, thing, or idea. Students learn to choose words that show instead of tell. The Prewriting map will help students generate the elements of descriptive writing, including sensory details. Shurley English provides other graphic organizers to help students develop certain details when describing people, places, an incident or event, or when describing a feeling. These lists will help students generate vivid details and use them to describe their subject more accurately in their writing. Using the information they've generated on their Prewriting maps, students will learn to follow the sentence-by-sentence outline to write their descriptive paragraph or essay. Now let's take a look at narrative writing. Narrative writing is simply the telling of a story. These stories are commonly called narratives or short stories. Narrative writing has certain characteristics that make it different from other types of writing. These characteristics are known as story elements. A pre-writing map will help students generate their main idea, setting, characters, plot, and ending. The graphic organizer outline for narrative writing provides a logical order for students to combine their story elements to tell their story. Using the information they've generated on their pre-writing map, students can follow the outline to write their narrative paragraph or essay. After students complete their rough draft, they will continue following the steps of the writing process. In step 3, they will revise to improve content. During step 4, they will edit to correct mistakes. During step 5, students will write a final paper by rewriting their corrected rough draft. And after they write their final paper, students will be given a genre-specific student rubric to do a final check of their paper. They will learn to compare their writing to each section of the rubric and make any corrections that are necessary. When students get to the final step of the writing process, step 6, they will publish their work by sharing it with others. In conclusion, after choosing a topic, students must decide whether their purpose for writing is to inform, persuade, entertain, or explain. Clarifying a specific purpose for writing will require conscious planning and skill. Teaching students genre and content knowledge and providing them with opportunities to write frequently for various purposes will increase their critical thinking and writing confidence. As the teacher, you must give students the knowledge and skills they need to write for all purposes. Then, you must provide them with many opportunities to practice what they've learned. Knowledge plus skills times practice equals competence and confidence. Let us help you achieve that goal. Shurley English gives students the concrete steps they need to make the English language arts connection. We teach students the writing process in 6 easy steps and provide multiple opportunities for them to repeat those steps in all genres of writing to attain mastery. Thanks for attending this edition of the Shurley English Workshop Series. We encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel to view all of our language arts instructional videos. For more information about our curriculum, please visit us at www.shurley.com.